we're back again. My name is Ivy Reiss, and this is the Artis with Ivy Reiss. And we're a new show focused on the 905 art and culture scene. However, we will also be having GTA guests in the future. Today's guest is Kim Cayer. She's a 905 author, and she's been a professional entertainer for 20 years. She writes prose. Her books are sassy, salacious, and always full of humor. Yet, they also explore a much deeper side. Each book explores a deeper side to things that affect the human condition, such as elder abuse, homelessness, battered women. And she approaches the way she writes in a very approachable manner when she deals with difficult subject matters. So today we're going to talk about how to grab your reader on the first page. She's going to give us some samples about how to read, and we're going to talk about her 3 published books and her 2 upcoming. Kim, hi.
Hi there.
How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. So, one of the things with your works is that you have this quality when you read. Everybody thinks that your pieces are semi-autobiographical. Is that true?
Semi, they think it actually happened. For example, No Fire Escape in Hell. I never did live in my car. I did consider it, which I guess fueled my imagination. The only thing that's autobiographical about that one is that one of my jobs as an entertainer is a singing telegram performer. And in the book, that was the main character's job. She's a singing telegram performer. But in all of them, Lights, Camera, Dissatisfaction is about the showbiz. At the time, I was in the film business, a little bit frustrated, and I thought, how do I get my frustration out? Instead of being bitter, I'll just write about it. And then the book came out of that.
But Dirty Numbers is definitely an attention grabber because it's about the protagonist works for a phone sex company.
Yeah, that's the only book that I ever wrote that is a true story. It's called a memoir, I guess. And just to clarify, Ivy, I did work for a phone sex company, but I was not the ooh, ah, that kind of person.
Yeah.
I was like, sir, do you have a credit card? Can you stop for a minute? Just, do you have a credit card?
And you had to kind of root out the underagers who were...
Underagers and all the, to get to the one legit customer, 1 out of every 40. So that was my unbearable job for a while.
Well, I know one time you read at one of my events, and, some people didn't think it was too family-friendly. But today you're just going to read a little excerpt from your 3 books. The third one, No Fire Escape in Hell, was actually a bestseller in Winnipeg and launched 2015, if I remember correctly.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And I should also say that Kim also she wrote, produced, and starred in a play called Memories of Marilyn, obviously Marilyn Monroe, and that toured all through Southern Ontario. And what year was that?
No, that went through Western Canada,
Sorry,
actually.
Western Canada.
Yeah, in Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver. And that was back in the day when I was still, rocking it as Marilyn Monroe. That was one of my sideline jobs, as an entertainer, which I retired from. But
this play did really well.
The play did really well, and
that was your first foray into writing?
That was my first real thing that I got out there on the road. Actually made money off of it, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, obviously when you read, you have this quality, like a lot of people who go to events know that reading prose is very difficult to an audience. It's hard to make the characters come to life. It's hard to grab people. And especially because a prose book can be anywhere from 100 pages or more. So when you only have a few minutes, you've got to make it relevant, pull people in. What do you do with and even with books these days, what do you do with the first page of a book? And what would you say to anyone who's writing prose and wants to go to an event? How do you do it? And then I'll let you give us an example, and we'll start with one of your first books.
I'll just say that when I go to an event and I listen to other authors read their works, I think I have an edge in that I have a showbiz background. So I've been in front of thousands of people, and so not everybody has that ability But the
But it
thing,
can be honed.
I think it could be honed, and even if it's just reading your piece out aloud, or even to one person who's going to be really honest with you and say, "You never once looked up at me," or when you're delivering dialogue, it's in the same voice, or why don't you add some excitement when you're describing an exciting scene? So I just think that the author should just really try to be,
And not be afraid of different intonation.
no, like especially if you're reading, an old man, just you don't have to be like a Oscar award winning, author, but just try to make it sound a little bit different than your own natural voice.
Yeah.
And like I was saying to you before, if you're going to read it live, then live it. Try to act like it's going on
Right in that
now.
moment.
Yeah.
And that's probably why people get this strong sense that your pieces are semi-autobiographical, because you live it when you read live.
Maybe.
So give our viewers an example. What are you going to read from first?
Okay.
Lights, camera, dissatisfaction, maybe?
I didn't really pick anything out there. Why don't we just try
No fire escape.
No Fire Escape? And I'm just going to read the very first page,
Okay, and then
how it starts. The very first even like paragraph, because I'll save my time for my upcoming works.
okay, and for this in this book, this deals with a woman. She's a battered lady and runs away from home and lives in her car,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. She is in a very bad, she's emotionally abused. She's not a good, healthy relationship there for her child that they have. So she escapes her house with her car packed full of her costumes, and she lives in her car for 6 months because her husband is saying, "I will leave this house and I'll leave you alone if you give me some cash." And so she's trying to make this money and everything. And
And you're going to dive right into the first page.
the first like little half a page.
And okay, go right ahead.
All right. My bags were packed. I knew this day was coming, and today was the day. I was leaving my husband. For the past 2 weeks, I'd kept a suitcase at the ready with a few changes of clothes, the usual assorted socks and underwear, a couple good books. In the garage, in a black garbage bag, I had hidden a sleeping bag and pillow. And in a huge storage box that had once held a tent and camping supplies, I'd stuffed the most important tools of my trade. They absolutely had to come with me. Without the gorilla, my Madonna, and Marilyn Monroe, I'd be without work as well as a home. So
Very
that's from
good.
there. Thank you.
And already you want to see more. And for anyone who does want to see more, we can find Kim's book on Amazon.
Yep.
And also, there's an excerpt from No Fire Escape in Hell in the 3rd issue of the Artis. Right there. For also those of you interested, and we'll give you Kim's contact information at the end, should you want to reach out to her, find her online. And so, yeah, and it moves on from there. I know there's a lot of really funny scenes. One of them where the officer, lady,
Oh yeah,
urinating
when she
in
gets
front of
busted,
people.
in a Walmart parking lot, and she just took her, like I guess when you're living in your car, there's not a lot of washrooms, so you take advantage of the great outdoors. So in this one scene, she goes to the washroom, and then along comes a cop, and he's, shining the light in her car, and he's standing in the puddle she just created. But like you said, I just try to take any humor I can find out of a bad situation.
And we'll have to read one little humor piece for our audience. But Lights, Camera, Dissatisfaction, which was an earlier book, and then we'll move on to Kitty Casino. But it's interesting. That really deals with the sexualization of women in the media industry. And I think that all of your books kind of touch on that a little bit.
I think, and I don't even know if that I plan to do that. I just think being a woman, and I know that it happens in all sorts of occupations, but in the film business, oh my goodness, it's so prominent. And if I could tell you how many times I felt that I was being sexualized or demeaned or asked to do something that I thought was not kosher, it would be like,
Or that you'll do it and you'll get A, B,
yeah,
C.
I don't know. I can't even count
on.
on my fingers and toes.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times probably. And, and not that everybody out there is a villain, but I really did run into my fair share.
And then that's something that's obviously the Me Too movement. It's being talked about in the media now, and it's a reality that's been ongoing for, decades.
Yeah, well, I've been, like, in the film business. I started that when I was, like 30 years ago in the film business, 30, even more. And it was back then it was unreal. The casting couch was like an actual thing. You know, it was
Yeah.
so prevalent. Now I would say I'm not in the film business. I still do the occasional thing, but maybe because I'm actually an elderly woman now.
Yeah, because it changes
Oh,
for
yeah.
women when they get to being 30
Yeah.
or 40. Then all of a sudden, recently Isabella Rossellini said that, you know, back, I think, was it Lancome that dropped, or one of the major companies that dropped her, but essentially that she's now been brought back on for their line, and she's 65. And she's saying that she felt you go invisible as a woman when you're over 50, and so she, you know, was in the film industry obviously, and I think she's Bergam Ingram's daughter, and she said that, you know, having to always say yes and acquiesce was kind of how she was brought up, and you had to do
Yeah.
that. So when she went invisible, as she aged, it was kind of the recent article in a magazine. Unfortunately, I can't remember which one. I just read it last week. But she said that it was kind of freeing because she could say and do what she wanted.
Oh, I think that, you know, with age comes some perks, because now I don't feel like back in the day, you know, the director, the producer, you're just like
Yeah.
there, you know, all this. Now I would think, you know, I just grew a set, I guess, when I got a little bit older, but it's just like, no, I'm not down with that, and
Yeah.
I choose not to do that, or I'm going to walk, or I just feel like I'm stronger now, and that obviously now that I've reached this age, they're going to hire me based on my abilities and nothing else.
Yes. Well, and I think it was Hello Canada that the Isabella Rossellini article was in, but let's read, how about with Lights, Camera, Dissatisfaction? I know we've got some salacious pieces, and maybe read a small excerpt from there, and then we'll move on to Kitty Casino.
Salacious.
Seriously, though. Like, even with the kid calls into the phone operator is one I remember.
Oh yeah, that was from
Or is that from Dirty
that's
Numbers?
from Dirty Numbers. That's my favorite scene, because
Do you have that on you?
No.
Okay, then go with
you
this.
know, when I wrote Dirty Numbers, when I was working at this phone sex place, which I call the sex shop, I would deal with these callers. I thought, these guys are unbelievable. And I would take secret notes, and finally I had a big shoebox full of notes, and I just thought, I have to do something with this. But my favorite one was this guy, this person who had the credit card, and he sort of sounded believable, and I was about to pass him on to a fantasy phone mate when his dad got on the line.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's like, and everybody, like the son, me, the dad, we all just felt like just dirty, right?
Well, let's do a funny piece from this, and then we'll move on to your Kitty Casino. Something a bit
Okay,
racy.
so I'm just trying to find out. I'm really, you know, I just wasn't prepared.
Well, while Kim is looking there, I'll just tell our viewers that her upcoming book, Kitty Casino, is finished, and Kim is looking for a publisher, and it's gone through 4 edits, and it deals with elder abuse and the sandwich generation's struggle with having older parents, and it's very pertinent, and she'll read a couple of pieces from that. She'll read the opener, and then she'll read one piece that really resonates with viewers when she has read it live, because it's a very tense scene, is all I'll tell you. And then we'll talk about her current work in progress, and then we'll wrap. So let's see what you've got from Lights, Camera,
Okay.
Dissatisfaction.
Well, isn't it funny that we're talking about the Me Too movement, but so this is the one that she is trying to be an actress. That's her. After she first wants to be a big movie star, and eventually she's just going to settle for one little line. And now she's sitting down at Christmas dinner, I think it is, but I'm just going to get into it. I was living a Family Guy episode. I was home for Christmas and experiencing a horrid tradition called Christmas dinner. Mother had the usual assorted relatives over for her annual display of culinary skills. The turkey was dry as dust. We had 4 different jellied salads to choose from, her famous root vegetable salad being my favorite, with candied fruit thrown in, and canned everything else, including the ham. This year, there were 16 people crammed into our tiny house, including my sister Louise and her 5 brats. Each were a year apart. If one wasn't fighting with the other was fighting with the youngest. The last born was 5 years old, and I've yet to see him not crying. Louise stopped raising her children after the fourth was born. Every now and then, though, the maternal urge would hit her and she'd remember she was a mother. I'd be talking to her and Megan would be yelling at Simon and Louise's hand would just shoot out and smack Megan. She wouldn't miss a word of the conversation. Other than those few times, though, her kids ran wild. The oldest was 10 and smoking at the kitchen table. Speaking of the kitchen table, that is where the Grand Inquisition began. The family was curious about my showbiz career. When I had decided to move to Toronto and become an actress, my mother tried to discourage me. When that failed, she had every other relative I owned try to dissuade me. Alice, it's all right to dream, but you're going too far, from Aunt Stella. What's wrong with your nice job at the factory? Alice, I might do ya, but you're no Megan Fox, you know, from Cousin Jerry. Anyways, let me just get down to what I was trying to read. Hang on.
I put Kim on the spot for this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to go on. She's got her Aunt Gladys is there with her new husband. Aunt Gladys's husband had been giving me funny looks all day, and it was starting to make me uncomfortable. This was Aunt Gladys's third husband, and I have to admit, I didn't much care for him or her second, while I'm at it. After divorcing dear Uncle Sid, her taste got decidedly worse. Her latest, Vito Pinelli, had an undefinable presence. He was too smooth, too slick, a bit too greasy, oozy, and languid. I guess it was definable. Aunt Gladys said he was a private investor, but I harbored suspicions he was a gangster. Mum, bless her heart, ordered me to go downstairs and bring up some more wine. I was glad to escape 20 questions times 5 and eagerly pushed my chair away from the table. I'll help you, Uncle Vito offered. It's okay, I can manage, I said. Please, allow me, he said, pushing his chair away from the table. He had been seated across me and it felt like a showdown. No, really, it's okay, I insisted. Oh, Alice, stop being such a big star and show your Uncle Vito our basement, my mother butted in. But Mom, it's only 4 cement walls and a dirt floor, nothing fancy. Alice, Mother said warningly. I could tell my defense was arousing the relatives' curiosity, so I dropped the subject. We descended the stairs into the damp basement. The hair on my neck was standing up. I was tense. I was getting the creeps from my new Uncle Vito. I saw the wine in the old crate where Mum had always hidden her booze. Our wine cellar, haha, I said as I grabbed 2 bottles. Uncle Vito's hands reached out. I automatically passed them to him. Instead of taking the bottles, Vito wrapped his sweaty palms around my hands. I laughed, even more fakishly than the first time. He only persisted in holding my hands and giving me what he thought was a romantic look. I read lecherous. I couldn't pull my hands away without dropping the wine. Mum splurged and spent almost $8 a bottle. Does our movie star want to give her new Uncle Vito a kiss? Vito asked, giving me an olive oil-eyed look. Why don't we just wait until we get under the mistletoe upstairs? I joked. Besides, I hardly know you. Oh, I'm sure you're quite accustomed to kissing strange men, and not only on the lips, he replied, pulling me closer. His last comment didn't sound very innocent. As a matter of fact, it had a rather perverse connotation. As he was drawing me closer, I pulled the wine bottles up so that they were pressed top to bottom against our chests. We should get our wine upstairs, I spoke rapidly. Everyone is so thirsty. Oh, look at this. Mum brought Aunt Gladys's favorite wine. Don't play the prude with me, Vito growled. And then, I'm not even going to tell you what goes on, but he tries to blackmail her for a reason that she did a film that was wasn't porno or anything, but not top quality. Right. Straight to video.
I mean, right there in just a couple pages, you honed in on so much what's happening in Hollywood, the Harvey Weinstein thing with even how, just the blackmail in itself.
I bet it happens in this book. I know it happens in this book.
And then Kitty Casino.
Definitely.
Dirty Number.
Oh, Kitty Casino for real. Like, should we talk about Kitty Casino?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, but I want, Lights, Camera, Dissatisfaction can also be found on Amazon.
Yeah.
For anyone wanting to find it. It's a fabulous read. And it was published by
John Hunt Publishing in the UK.
John Hunt Publishing in the UK. So you can also contact them should you not find on Amazon. And so let's talk about Kitty Casino. That one talks about the elderly, elder abuse, and the sandwich generation issue that we're dealing with in North America with the baby boomers as they've aged.
Yeah.
Now there's one scene that say has resonated really strongly with readers. And did you want to read a little
Sure.
opening piece as well, or jump right into
I'll just read the opening piece because it's kind of short. And I'll just tell you really
the
quick.
context?
Again, not autobiographical. At the time, I was living with my mother-in-law, who was elderly and really like getting on my nerves. And so I'm feeling, do I want to be the world's biggest, I'm so, negative person, or do I just turn that energy into something else? And of course, I'm not just going to write about her. Once I start writing about it, everything, it opens up, leads to other avenues. I go that ways. So, in this book,
Well, that's it. Again, it's inspired by very real stresses
Yeah.
that all of us will deal
Yeah.
with at one point or another in our lives.
so in this story, the main girl is Tammy, and she's a bit, it's all about me to Tammy. She really is into her own life. She had 3 children when she was very young. She gets this chance to go out on the road with a rock band and become like their assistant road manager. Leaves the kids with grandma, and stays away almost for 15 years. Just comes back very odd time. So I'm just gonna. But after 15 years, she loses her job, so she's got to move back to Toronto. Here we go, chapter 1, first page. We have nobody here with that name, the receptionist informed me. I was at Better Days Ahead Retirement Center, the latest home I had deposited my mother. This was the 5th place she'd lived over the past 2 years. In the last 4 fine establishments, she'd been asked to leave. The reason? Unruly and disruptive behavior. I assumed the prior seniors' homes had been acceptable. Online, they looked terrific. But I took it a step further by having my eldest son, Rain, personally check them out. Looks great, Mom, came his reply to each retirement center. Nice people. They say she can afford it. The person who lived the farthest away from Mom and her grandchildren was me. For the past 15 years, I've basically been on the road. Due to circumstances beyond my control, I had to move back to Toronto. Since daughter dearest was back in town, the least she can do was look after her elderly mother. Are you sure you don't have a Catherine Canseco here? I asked the receptionist again. I'm just filling in behind the desk until Marta gets back, the girl relayed. But I've been working here a while now. I pretty much know everybody. Never heard of no Catherine Canseco. You're joking me, I said, a mild form of panic starting to flutter in my gut. She shrugged. Are you sure you have the right name? I think I know my own mother's name, I replied. Okay, shouted. A loud voice being heard in the well-groomed lobby caused the door to open and a lady to run out, a sandwich held in her hand. Whoa, what's the commotion? She gave me the eye. I don't recognize you. How can I help you? Actually, you guys called me. I tried to be pleasant. Said you wanted my mother out of this place, the sooner the better. But your girl here says my mom's not here, so where is she? Your mother's name? The head receptionist, Marta, asked. Geez, how many old ladies are you kicking out? I retorted. Catherine Canseco already. And I'll leave you with that one, but I'm going to get you to this scene that I read it a couple times, and
That was amazing. I just want to point out, even for our viewers, even there, just the key words you've put in, the layers, such as I deposited my mother in that home, as if you're dropping something off your deposit, or even she came out with a sandwich in her hand. It's almost an allusion to the sandwich generation.
oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Well, I mean, that's it, it's there. It comes across in those finer ways. Yet the humor, it's anyway. I will let you read this part that has really. You've had people come up to you at the end of events and
Yeah.
say that really struck a chord with them.
All right, so in the book, the daughter decides that during the years she's been away, her mom has gotten a little bit of a gambling habit. She likes to go to the casinos.
Hence the name Kitty Casino.
Kitty Casino, right. So they're on their way, and I'll try to read this one not too quick, but making the short drive to the casino, we listened to a talk show program on the car radio. Kitty enjoyed them, and it saved me from having to make conversation that could quickly take a bad turn. The topic today went something like this. A man died without a will. His new wife got everything. 5 years later, the kids discovered his will amongst the scrapbooks of match covers he picked up. The 20-year-old son, a heavy smoker, was pulling matches out of the scrapbooks for years until he turned a page, and there it was. Now they were trying to retrieve what inheritance was left from the new wife/widow. As we pulled into the casino lot, I shut off the radio. You have a will, don't you, Mum? Just making conversation. Of course I do, Kitty said. At the first home I went to, they made sure all the residents had a will. Oh, good, I replied, edging into a parking space. Where do you keep it, in your safety deposit box? You'll know when the time comes, Kitty answered. I was just unbuckling her when she said that. It froze me, as the absurdity of it went through my head slowly. Come on, Tammy, Kitty urged me. I can feel the Swords of Honor's slot machine calling my name. When the time comes might be too late, Mum, I said uneasily. You should really tell me where you keep it. I unbuckled her completely. You'll know when the time comes, Kitty said forcefully. Why must you be so morbid when I just want to go out and have some fun while I'm still alive? You're mad because we ended up coming here after all, aren't you? And now you want to ruin my night? No, Mom, geez, we were just listening to that radio show, so I thought I'd ask a simple question. I was trying to make amends. Kitty wanted no part of it. She pulled herself out of the car and tried to hustle off to the casino. I got out, locked the car, and caught up with her a minute later. You go ahead, Tammy, I don't need your help, Mom said. She stopped dead in her tracks. I gently took her arm. Come on, Mom, let's just go inside, I said. She didn't budge when I started walking again. This time I put my arm around her shoulder and tried to force her to walk into the casino. I don't want to be with you right now, Tammy, Mom said, digging her heels into the cement. Leave me alone. I'll see you in 2 hours like usual. Maybe I'll be happy then. Oh, don't cause a scene, I said. Let's go, now. This time I got behind her and almost tried lifting her. She flung out her arm and grabbed at a signpost. I tugged, and she yelled at me to let her go, so I did. She didn't exactly fall down completely, just onto one knee. I reached out and yanked her back up by the shoulders on her fisherman vest, and Lord forgive me, I had the strongest compulsion to just give her a single slap to the face. I think my arm had even started to rise. I know I can still sense how my hand had stiffened into a ping-pong paddle when an inner voice froze me physically. So this is how you want to spend your 15 minutes of fame, that voice said. I glanced around, seeing video cameras mounted everywhere. Images and snippets of news reports flashed in my mind of mothers beating their children in parking lots and of nannies mishandling their charges. I was sure this would be a new low for the TV stations bound to get a hold of the vicious footage. Stepping back 3 giant steps, I said ominously, Go have your fun. I'll see you in 2 hours at the drum. She walked past me, and I sketched a goodbye wave at her, mainly for the camera's sake. I went back to the car, fighting the desire to start it and drive off the closest cliff. I was ashamed of myself, as well as sick of being the sole caregiver to my cantankerous mother. Where was the Catherine Canseco I remembered? This Kitty Casino was not a person I'd have willingly chosen for a housemate. But I was stuck with her, and I knew I'd be hunting her down in 2 hours, checking in to see that she was still alive, to mentally kick me to death. Until then, I'd stay in the car and have myself a long, overdue cry. There.
Amazing. Very good.
Thank you.
That really touches on how difficult it can be to just lose your temper and how things can quickly go to hand. But even how you sketched a goodbye wave for the camera just to make it look like everything's
all
okay.
good.
It looks all good for all the CCTV out there.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap quick and talk about your new.
Okay.
So, Kitty Casino, just for anyone who is wondering, is currently in the process of finding a publisher. It will be available soon.
Yeah.
And you can also read an excerpt of that in the Artis 2. There was a sneak peek.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk about the working title of your upcoming piece, Work in Progress.
This is
Booty Call.
The booty call list. So if you have any of my information come up, if you guys can think of a new title, that's just like, a quick working title. But it's about a girl who, in high school or whatever, she had her first sexual experience, and it was so mind-blowing, out of this world, that it left such an effect on her mentally that she's always trying to achieve that same
Euphoria.
Yeah, exactly. And she makes a lot of bad choices, and she just becomes a sex addict in this non-stop search. So.
And trying to find the right guy, and
trying to
kind of
find
leads a double life at one point.
Yeah.
And then, are you going to read? Which piece will you be reading?
Okay, I'm just going to read you. A little bit. Of the tiniest bit.
Yes.
I'm going to read the first paragraph because it sort of leads in. So, call it the perfect storm, an awakening sexuality, the hottest boy in school, and the danger factor. These things all came together one summer afternoon, and like with many storms, it left a destruction in its wake that took years to recover. Basically, it turned me into a sex addict. Warning, this one's not autobiographical at all. In case my mom is watching.
Disclaimer alert.
I'm using my total imagination. So I'm going to just go right here. So when I started grade 10, I managed to snag my first boyfriend. Jasper and I went from hand-holding to minor kissing, which suited me fine. After a month and out of the blue, Jasper was done with me. He told half the school that I was a prude. I rather resented that, as it took me the rest of the school year to land my next boyfriend. He wasn't even from my high school. Rusty was a good Catholic boy who attended a prestigious school and looked damn good in a baseball uniform. Better progress was being made with this relationship. We were holding hands by our second date, deeply kissing by our last date. He'd even put his arm around my waist and let his hand briefly fall to my backside. It seemed he couldn't hold that position for long, though, as his arm guiltily, if that's a word, it slid back up to my waist. But I knew it would only be a matter of time before we progressed to something a little more risque. I was hoping for a hickey.
All right, thank you, Kim. That
You're
was
welcome.
amazing. And if for all those viewers, I know this book will touch on how even she's over-sexualized by her father, and there's almost a lot of people that she meets throughout end of high school into college. If you want to get in touch with Kim, shall we give them your email? Or,
Yep.
At Kim's Characters.
At Rogers.com. Kim's Characters.
Yeah, KIMSCHARACTERS at Rogers.com.
Yep.
And our next show for the Artis with Ivy Reiss will be on Friday, August 17th at 1 p.m. Our two guests will be Valentino Essenza, host of Howl Radio, and also Max Layton, singer, songwriter. Need I say more? We're going to have a live studio audience, and email me at theartismagazine@gmail.com. My name is Ivy. Be in touch with us or reach out to Hugh Reilly here at ThatChannel Studio, and we're going to fill up this space. We've got room for about 20 guests, and it's going to be an amazing show with live music, lots of chat. And I should also say that Valentino Essenza is also a spoken word veteran on the GTA scene. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Ivy.